This is RTV6 News at 5:30, working for you.
And now at 5:30, making the choice to become an American. They had to wait longer than expected, but Indiana and the U.S. now have dozens of new citizens. And keeping the 4-H tradition alive under very difficult and unusual circumstances, the efforts being made to make lots of hard work is not wasted. Jessica.
Here's what we're talking about today in our lineup. The job market is competitive with millions of people still out of work. How you can find out about openings before they're even posted. And there's growing concern over the safety of some hand sanitizers. What you need to watch out for to keep your family safe.
It's really a huge workforce for us. Those guys are a powerhouse.
Some of the people essential to fighting wildfires are being kept off the job. How COVID-19 is playing a role in this.
But first at 5:30, county 4-H fairs this year are pretty slimmed down due to COVID-19, but organizers are still doing their best to try and give kids an opportunity to show their animals after all the hard work they've put in. RTV6's Alyssa Donovan takes us to the Putnam County Fair.
4-H is a way of life for the Judys. Have not missed a year since 1958.
Gary Judy has attended the Putnam County 4-H Fair for decades.
61 years.
But this year, it's a totally different game.
When you look around the fairgrounds, you're used to seeing wall-to-wall people, and it almost looks like a ghost town. You go in the arena, you're supposed to have a mask on, which is good. They're trying to keep everybody in the barn separated, so there's not the big crowds here, and you don't see the people coming through the barn.
This year we can't camp through the night like all week like we usually do, and we can't sit in the barn and play cards together. And if you go in the barns, you're supposed to wear a mask. I wish it was the regular way like we always do.
I really feel sorry for the kids because they're not getting to experience what we experienced. You have all the camaraderie, and 4-H is something that you meet people and you only see them maybe a year at a time like at the state fair, but it's like you've never been separated. You're always friends.
Even with the major changes, the kids are still glad they have the opportunity to show off their work.
His name is Flash. He's a really good contesting horse, and he can do anything, about anything you want with him. For horses, you normally have to go out and ride them every day and practice what you want to do.
While many are grateful for the efforts to keep everyone safe, they're hopeful next year things will return to normal.
I thought I'd seen it all, but I've never dreamed that we would be going through something like this.
I'm Alyssa Donovan, RTV6.
You may have noticed it feels a little bit better as you step out the door this afternoon and this evening compared to this morning. We've had a cold front go through, and that has really started to drop the humidity levels. As we look at these dew points, we traded the 70-degree dew points for middle 60s. Columbus, you're still in the low 70s, but you'll catch up here with a little better feel as the evening goes along. With that front, you can see we've circled a couple of downpours there, but they are pushing southeast of Greensburg and out of the RTV6 area. So the rest of us just going to enjoy a beautiful evening. Lots of blue sky, just a couple of clouds there as we look over the Indianapolis skyline, and temperatures don't get any more uniform than that. Everywhere you look, we are in the middle 80s, 85 in Indianapolis, Bloomington, Lafayette, Greenwood, and Muncie at this hour. So here is a look at your evening planning forecast. Temperatures should feel pretty nice with that light north breeze. We're into the upper 70s here by 9 o'clock and 76 at 10. Again, we'll be hard-pressed to find any clouds in the sky. The drought monitor, that was newly released today, and what we've noticed is an increase in moderate drought around the Bloomington and Marion, Indiana areas. The rest of us pretty much dealing with abnormally dry conditions. We're going to look ahead in that 7-day planning forecast for that next chance for some widespread rain coming our way. Jessica?
The situation with racial justice protests, some violence, and pushback from federal agents in Portland is something that could happen in other cities now. Things escalated overnight when the crowd started throwing projectiles and fireworks outside the federal courthouse. Then federal agents the president sent in used tear gas. Portland's mayor was there.
This is clearly a waste of federal resources, and it's getting increasingly dangerous. We did not ask the feds to be here. We don't want them here. They're not helping the situation. They're not appropriately trained, and we're demanding that they leave.
Oregon is now asking the courts for a restraining order to get federal agents to stop detaining protesters, to identify themselves and explain why an arrest is taking place. Portland's mayor, along with Chicago's, New York City's, and more than a dozen others, have all said or signed a letter stating they don't want the federal agents in cities. The president said Operation Legend, which is named after a 4-year-old boy killed in Kansas City, Missouri, is expanding to help curb the rising number of shootings, murders, and violence.
The difference between what the president announced and what's happening in Portland isn't really any different. The problem I have with this is that they are not identifying themselves with any department, and they're acting like trained soldiers. They're not acting like police.
Law professor Jeffrey Schwartz says it's illegal for federal agents to do anything outside federal jurisdiction, meaning they can only make arrests for federal violations like defacing a federal building. It's not legal for them to engage in crowd control when there's no danger. In terms of Operation Legend, Schwartz says it would be different if cities invited federal agents in, like a task force to help solve crimes. Then federal agents would have jurisdiction to act like a police officer in that capacity. But that is not the case right now.
What we're looking at is the possibility, and one can't go very far to stretch this, that we could see confrontations between local police and federal authorities.
Schwartz says he believes democracy is at risk by allowing federal authorities to act in this manner. Next in the lineup, some people are getting back to work, but millions are still struggling and looking for their next job. We have the keys to getting into a hidden job market so you're not competing with everyone applying right now.
Right now at 5:30 on WRTV 6, life in central Indiana is not back to normal, but bits and pieces are returning, even if they look a bit different. And that includes welcoming new citizens into the fold.
You are now becoming part of a new family, the family of the United States of America. And that family might seem strange or foreign. Also, I hope it's intriguing. And just as family members are very different, so are we Americans.
That judge compares it to a marriage of sorts, marrying your community. Today marked the first naturalization ceremony since the onset of COVID-19 in March for the U.S. District Court. 86 people from 29 different countries of origin all took the oath of citizenship outside the Indiana War Memorial downtown. As a way to navigate the pandemic, the ceremony was moved outside so people could properly distance.
For the first time in roughly 4 months, weekly jobless claims rose to 1.4 million new claims last week. That's compared to 1.3 million the week before. The good news, though, continuing claims fell, with roughly 1 million people able to get off unemployment and likely back into the job market. It's not easy to find a job right now, but Alicia Nueves shows us how you could have luck in the hidden job market.
Unemployment in the U.S. is still alarmingly high.
People are feeling overwhelmed when they listen to the news. They feel overwhelmed when they see that 1 million extra people just filed for unemployment.
Sarah Johnston runs the company Briefcase Coach and is a job search strategist helping people find work in this job market.
But the good news is that my clients, and I know from looking at LinkedIn updates, people are getting jobs.
Finding a job right now is not easy. It is competitive, but Johnston says if you search in the hidden job market, you'll find better success.
The hidden job market are all the jobs that are unadvertised online.
An employer may be planning a promotion or expanding but hasn't announced that yet. If you can get to know hiring managers before new jobs post, you'll have a better chance of topping their list of candidates. So how do you search for a job in the hidden job market?
Tip number 1 is to understand what your options are. You really need to know your target companies. Who hires people like you for the work that you want to do?
She says create a target list of companies you want to work for and find out who are the hiring managers. Then move on to tip number 2. See who in your existing network may know or have connections to those managers or someone in that list of companies.
The final tip would be, do not be afraid of being proactive in your job search and making contact or reaching out or getting an introduction to the decision makers maker or the hiring manager at your dream company are companies on your target list. Only takes one conversation to change the entire trajectory of your job search.
Johnston partnered with LinkedIn for a more in-depth course on navigating the hidden job market. It's free to LinkedIn members. I'm Alicia Nieves reporting.
Ahead in the lineup, we're looking at what's on track to be a relentless fire season, why COVID-19 is keeping some of the people essential to fight these fires off the job. As wildfires scorch parts of the country, COVID-19 has sidelined a critical group of firefighters, inmates. As Amanda Brandeis learned, the shortage comes as states are on pace for what could be a relentless fire season.
Destructive and unpredictable, wildfires threaten the homes and livelihoods of thousands of Americans.
A lot of the fuels up there are dry and ready to burn, and so we're seeing Central and Northern California start to take off.
CAL FIRE's tasked with fighting and preventing wildfires statewide, but they rely on help from a population typically invisible to the public.
These are inmates who have chosen to help out California by joining these fire crews, and they're a huge resource for us throughout the state.
Roughly 2,200 prison inmates are trained to work the fire line.
They're an essential part of what's going on. Their job is to cut line, which separates the burned fuel from the unburned fuel, and that's really where we get our containment on these fires.
But COVID-19 has depleted their ranks. Of the state's 118 crews, 41 are quarantined because of prison outbreaks, eliminating hundreds of firefighters at a critical time. CAL FIRE's already responded to over 4,100 fires this year. Compare that to an average of 2,500 in recent years.
It's really a huge workforce for us. Those guys are a powerhouse.
States like Arizona, Colorado, and Oregon also deploy inmates to wildfires, but in far fewer numbers than California.
We're sitting much shorter than we have been in the past, but we've also taken a lot of aggressive steps to make sure that we do have enough folks for these fires when they happen.
The state is hiring over 800 paid firefighters to fill the void. They could also turn to the California National Guard and out-of-state resources.
It continues to be a concern for us that COVID could come in and decimate our staffing and really cause a lot of problems. That hasn't been the case because we've been taking every precaution we can.
Like wildfires, COVID has proved destructive and unpredictable. But firefighters stand ready to battle them both. In San Diego, I'm Amanda Brandeis reporting.
And today's July 23rd, and 1 month from today, August 23rd, is the pandemic-delayed Indianapolis 500. And tomorrow is the last day you can buy tickets if you want to see the race in person. And a reminder, there is a limit of 25% capacity at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which is in line with the new restriction announced today by Mayor Joe Hogsett for sports venues. The track has lifted the local blackout, so you will be able to watch the race live on television this year. Kyle.
And Amanda, a little early to know exactly how that 500 forecast is going to work out. You know, it can certainly be hot in August. I look back, though, in 2019, we had a high of 79 degrees there on the 23rd. So we'll get a little bit closer and iron out those details. Right now, we got 85. It feels pretty good because that humidity is now under 50% with a northwest breeze between 10 and 15 miles per hour. And tonight will be more comfortable as well. We'll get away from that 70-degree mark and back into the middle 60s for that overnight temperature with a light north wind. And as we start off a little bit cooler, that AC usage will be a little bit lower as we go through Friday. Just some moderate use there as we get into the afternoon there with some of that peak heating between about 2 and 4 o'clock. Temperature-wise, here's how it plans out hour by hour in your finally Friday forecast. We'll get those temperatures lower 70s at 9 a.m., close to 80 degrees at noon, and back into the middle 80s for that afternoon high. Just a few clouds around, but it will be a dry day for us as we go through the afternoon. A high of 82 in Kokomo, Danville, and Hendricks County, 84 Friday afternoon, and 87 in the Columbus area. Saturday, maybe the kids want to head out to the playground there. The earlier the better because things do start to warm up a little bit, but it should be a dry day, so you can really kind of pick your time there. 67 at 9. We'll get back into the middle 80s, and it looks like Sunday will be mainly dry. Just an isolated shower chance. Next best chance for some rain That comes our way Monday into Tuesday morning. Right now, it looks like about a half to an inch of rainfall expected. 7-day planning forecast. There's that 90-degree temperature snuck in there on Sunday, and then things are going to feel a whole lot better once we get that rain through here on Monday. We're talking about highs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday only in the lower to middle 80s. Humidity should also be fairly bearable and comfortable as well, with those lows in the middle 60s. Jessica?
Back to school is always an expensive time for families and teachers. This year brings a whole new level of costs.
Was just kind of an oversight. Like, the schools did a really good job of making sure that their students had connectivity. And I think we just kind of expect that teachers have that level of connectivity that you need. But a lot of us didn't.
We were just provided with our laptop. We were not allowed to bring home the printers or the document cameras, Elmos, none of that.
An Elmo is like an overhead projector that connects to your computer. A lot of teachers scrambled to make virtual learning happen at the end of last year. Now many are having to prep for both distance and in-person learning, making supply expenses even more, especially given that before, students often shared supplies like pencils. Now it's recommended everyone have their own because of the virus. The uncertainty of school in the fall and the financial challenges many of us are facing are changing back to school shopping.
Parents aren't necessarily as concerned about those brand new back to school outfits. So less so backpacks, for instance, less so really nice clothes, for instance, and really taking advantage of opportunities to buy things like shoes. Kids outgrow shoes really, really quickly.
Surveys of parents by both Deloitte and Deal's website, Retail Me Not, shows spending on electronics is expected to be higher than normal. Spending on things like computers and tablets is expected to increase 28% over last year. 40% of parents also plan to subscribe their kids to a supplementary e-learning platform. Curbside pickup is an option for a lot more stores now, and some of them are offering deals on it. Retail Me Not says they're sometimes seeing 10 to 15% off deals, so that's worth looking into. They say the offers for back to school are also different this year.
We're seeing more deals in July than we have in the past. Things are a lot different. People have come to expect back to school sales starting right now in July. And because of the fact that retailers have really been in this unknown period, there haven't been a ton of sales.
Retail Me Not has an event from today through Sunday that could help you save more money. More than 100 stores are participating, and some are offering up to 20% cash back on what you buy. We've long known there are disparities in what minorities pay for certain services, often because of credit scores or the neighborhood they live in, even depending on what kind of job they have. Now there's an investigation into if it's racial discrimination. The National Association of Insurance Commissioners is looking at how car insurance rates are determined to see if it disadvantages minorities. Once the findings come out, it could lead to changes in what we all pay. There's an update on your finances that you may not even realize is happening. Big banks continue to reduce their liability by reducing credit card limits and even closing some cards altogether. It's happening to a lot of people. Compare Cards says it's affected more than a third of credit card holders over the last few months. That's in addition to nearly 50 million that it happened to in April. Not using a credit card, missing payments, or your credit score dropping could be a red flag for banks to make this move. Cities across the country continue to face economic uncertainty because of the pandemic. They could be on track to lose nearly $1.5 trillion in economic activity this year. That's according to a new report from the U.S. Conference of Mayors. The Mayors Group says it expects the average unemployment rate to be above 10% in more than 160 cities for the rest of this year. Let's start the news feed. There are concerns about the future of museums across the U.S. A new survey says a third feel like they may not last past 16 months. That's unless they get some sort of financial relief. Another postponement from AMC Theaters. It will now start opening theaters in mid to late August. It had initially hoped to start reopening in the middle of this month. Another retailer is filing for bankruptcy. This time, it's the parent company of Ann Taylor and Lane Bryant. As a result, the company is set to close more than 1,000 stores. Finally in the lineup, the number of hand sanitizer products being recalled is growing. How you can make sure what you're using is safe. The list of recalled hand sanitizers is growing. The FDA has named dozens that contain methanol. It can cause blindness or hospitalizations if absorbed through the skin. A consumer watchdog tells us these products are not FDA approved. That's because in March, the agency allowed companies that never made hand sanitizer to make it in order to meet demand. They just had to agree to follow the rules.
So guess what happened? Some of them didn't follow the rules, either intentionally or unintentionally. And so then they started getting reports from the poison control centers of people getting sick from methanol in hand sanitizer instead of ethanol.
Tessa Murray says many of the recalled products have been made in Mexico. But as part of the temporary guidelines, companies don't have to disclose where the sanitizers were manufactured. So it's hard for consumers to tell which products might be dangerous. Murray says if you can't tell where the product was made, don't buy it and don't use it if it's already in your home. To be safe, stick with brand names you recognize for now. Murray has found most stores and online retailers have pulled products on the FDA list, but you should still be careful depending on where you shop.
So I would caution anyone from buying anything that's on an end cap clearance aisle or anything that's from a super discount store. There may be a reason why one of the mainstream retailers is no longer selling it.
Murray says it's always important to keep hand sanitizers out of reach of kids and pets, but now even more so. If ingested, methanol can cause even more health problems. Summer camps have changed a lot during the pandemic, and they've offered a valuable learning opportunity for kids and organizers. Tomorrow, how these changes are offering a roadmap to getting schools reopened safely.
And let's get another check of your 7-day planning forecast. A very nice end to the week here. Quite a bit of sunshine on Friday, lower humidity and highs in the middle 80s. Those temperatures gradually heating up a little bit throughout the weekend to 90 degrees before thunderstorms arrive on Monday, bring some needed rainfall and cooler air next week. Thanks for joining us here at 5:30. The news at 6 starts right now.